Gemini, if you are watching this video in August, your light is being targeted right now, not loudly, not violently, but quietly, subtly, in a way that makes you question yourself. Before you even realize something has been taken from you. Pause for a moment and notice this. Have you been speaking less, thinking more, and somehow feeling more misunderstood than usual, as if every word you choose carries more weight, yet lands in the wrong place, as if your voice is still there, but the room no longer echoes back the way it used to? This is not coincidence. This is the first sign. Gemini's greatest power has never been strength, force, or control. It has always been clarity, language, perception, and the ability to illuminate truth before others can even name it. When that light is dimmed, Gemini does not fall dramatically. Gemini fades quietly. And August is not a month of loud loss for you. It is a month of silent erasure. You need to hear this clearly. This is not about chaos, destruction, or obvious failure. This is about something far more dangerous. It is about being slowly edited out of your own story, about watching others speak your thoughts. Take your role, carry your ideas forward while you stand one step back, telling yourself it is better to wait, to observe, to stay neutral, to keep the peace. In Buddhist teaching, this is the moment where wisdom turns into attachment. Attachment to harmony, attachment to being understood, attachment to not disturbing the surface of the water. But still, water can hide deep currents, and August carries a current that pulls Gemini inward away from the visible field of influence. Ask yourself honestly, Gemini, when was the last time you stopped yourself from saying what you knew was true because you feared the cost of saying it? When was the last time you softened your insight so others would not feel challenged? When was the last time you chose silence, not from peace, but from exhaustion? This is how light begins to disappear, not because it is stolen, but because it is voluntarily dimmed. Ancient prophecy speaks of this moment as well. Nostradamus warned of the thinker who retreats, not because they are wrong, but because the world grows uncomfortable with their clarity. When the bearer of light begins to doubt their own necessity, the shadow does not need to attack. It simply waits. Here is the secret warning you were not meant to ignore. In August, Gemini faces a small choice that does not look important at first glance. A conversation delayed, a truth swallowed, a moment where you decide it is easier to stay quiet than to stand visible. That choice does not explode immediately. It echoes forward. In astrology, this is what opens a long karmic corridor, one that stretches 12 years ahead. One choice decides whether your light continues to guide or whether it becomes something others reference. Without credit, without origin, without you. This is why this video found you now. Not later, not randomly. This window is brief, and once it closes, the pattern locks. If you feel unsettled listening to this, that is not fear. That is recognition. Gemini intuition activates through language, through vibration, through resonance. Your system already knows something is shifting. This is not about ego. It is about alignment. Buddhism teaches that right speech is not loud speech. It is truthful speech spoken without attachment to outcome. August tests whether Gemini remembers this. Silence can be sacred, but silence chosen from self-erasure becomes karma. And karma, once set in motion, does not ask again. Do not scroll away thinking you will remember this later. FOMO is not a marketing trick here. It is a spiritual mechanism. If you leave now, you will not know what you lost, only that something feels missing months from now years from now. Your light does not disappear in one moment. It erodes in increments. Erase your light is not a threat. It is a description of a process that only Gemini can interrupt. Slow your breath as you listen. Feel how these words land not just in your mind, but in your chest. This message is time-bound. It is coded specifically for Gemini energy moving through August. Others may watch, but only Gemini feels the full weight of this transmission. If you are still here, it means you are not meant to fade. It means your awareness has already shifted. To anchor this awareness, let your presence be seen, like the video to signal alignment. Subscribe to the channel to stay within this protective frequency. Share this message because another Gemini is standing at the same silent crossroads. And if you feel it, leave a comment, not to speak loudly, but to declare gently, I am still here, and my light remains. Gemini, now that you have felt the pull of that first warning, you need to understand why this is not imagination, not anxiety, and not emotional overthinking, but a real and measurable energetic condition that unfolds every August in a very specific way for your sign. August carries a frequency that presses directly on the Gemini axis of intellect and communication, the very channel through which your soul expresses light. When this axis is blurred, Gemini does not lose talent or intelligence. Instead, the signal weakens. Thoughts remain sharp, but transmission becomes distorted. Words are still accurate, but timing turns treacherous. This is how cosmic danger operates for you, not through destruction, but through interference. In astrology, August activates a fog across the mental field, making truth feel heavier to carry and easier to misplace once spoken. You may already feel it. Conversations that once flowed now stall. Sentences are interrupted. Your insights land awkwardly, or worse, they are taken reshaped and returned to you as something you never meant. This is the phenomenon you must recognize: truth being bent, not denied. What you say is not challenged openly, but subtly reframed, diluted, or used against you later. This is far more destabilizing than direct opposition. It causes Gemini to hesitate, to double-check, to replay moments internally, asking, "Did I say it wrong?" And that question is the first fracture. When a Gemini begins to doubt their own perception, the outer world gains leverage. August tests timing. You may speak the truth, but speak it one breath too early or one moment too late. In Buddhist philosophy, this is known as right speech, losing alignment with right moment. The wisdom remains pure, but the delivery falls out of harmony. When this happens repeatedly, Gemini unconsciously retreats. You stop offering insight unless invited. You wait for permission to shine, and slowly others step into the space you once held naturally. You are not pushed out. You step aside. That is the danger no one warns you about. Look closely at the signs. Are you being talked over more often? Do people rush past your point as if it were inconvenient? Have you been labeled too much, too detailed, or complicated when once you were appreciated for clarity and brilliance? These labels are not accidents. They are markers of an energetic shift where your light becomes uncomfortable to those who benefit from silence, confusion, or control. The most dangerous moment is not when others dismiss you. It is when you begin to accept their dismissal as truth. Astrologically, August initiates a test of silence and light. It asks Gemini a single question in many disguises. Will you dim yourself to maintain peace, or will you remain visible without attachment to outcome? This is where Buddhist teaching becomes essential. Non-attachment does not mean non-expression. It means speaking without craving approval and without fear of rejection. August pressures Gemini to confuse detachment with disappearance. That confusion is the trap. Because once you equate silence with wisdom, your light no longer circulates. It stagnates. Ask yourself this, Gemini, without judgment and without rushing to answer. Who benefits when you stop speaking clearly? Who gains when you pause instead of articulate? Who advances when your ideas remain unshared? This is not paranoia, it is discernment. In ancient prophecy, it is written that the most effective way to remove a messenger is not to silence them by force, but to convince them they are better unheard. That prophecy was not about war or politics. It was about consciousness. Time matters here. This is not a long season. August is a narrow corridor, a short initiation window. The test does not last forever, but the consequence does. If you retreat now, the universe records that choice. Patterns follow choices. 12 years can pass quickly when a pattern is locked. But if you remain present, aware, and aligned, August becomes a gate, not a threat. It becomes the moment where you reclaim clarity without apology. Remember this truth as you listen. August does not come to destroy Gemini. It comes to observe Gemini, to see whether you withdraw when misunderstood or remain anchored in your knowing. The cosmos is not asking you to fight. It is asking you not to vanish. If you feel this message resonate, it is because your awareness is activating. Let it anchor, like the video to a firm presence. Subscribe to stay within this frequency of protection. Share this message because another Gemini is being tested quietly right now. And if you feel called, leave a comment. Your voice, even written, signals to the universe that your light is still on. Gemini, as you move deeper into this message, something familiar may already be stirring inside you, a quiet recognition that this has happened before. Not once, not twice, but in patterns that seem to repeat whenever you begin to shine most clearly. Think back to the moments you rarely talk about, the times when you were the sharpest mind in the room, the one with the vision, the language, the insight, and yet somehow you watched someone else step into the position you naturally held, carrying forward ideas that first moved through you. You were not pushed aside aggressively. You were replaced gently, almost politely, and that is why the wound runs deep. Gemini has known the experience of being erased while still present, of being overlooked while still essential, and that memory is not random. It is karmic. The karmic pattern begins with harmony. Gemini values flow, balance, mutual understanding, and because of this, you often choose peace over presence. You step back so others can feel comfortable. You soften your brilliance so the group remains intact. In astrology, this is the gift of adaptability, but in karma, it becomes a subtle self-sacrifice. In Buddhist philosophy, this is attachment to the role of the understanding one, the one who sees all sides, the one who does not need to assert themselves because truth will eventually surface. But karma does not operate on intention alone. It responds to action, and when action becomes silence, the universe records withdrawal. Over time, understanding too much becomes dangerous. When you see everyone's perspective, you begin to excuse behaviors that diminish your role. You justify being overlooked. You tell yourself that timing will correct things, that your moment will return. But light that waits too long begins to dim. This is how Gemini unknowingly shrinks their own field, not out of weakness, but out of compassion. and compassion without boundaries becomes disappearance. The cycle is precise and painful. First comes insight, then comes restraint. You hold back a thought to maintain harmony. Someone else fills the gap. That voice becomes the authority. History rewrites itself subtly. Your original spark is no longer traceable. This is not theft in the obvious sense. It is substitution. And the more it happens, the more Gemini begins to internalize a dangerous belief, maybe my role is to observe, not to lead. That belief is the karmic seed that keeps repeating. August is when this karmic loop returns for review. Astrology marks it as a threshold, a moment when unresolved patterns surface, not to punish, but to be completed. This is why August feels heavier, more reflective, more emotionally charged for Gemini. Old situations echo. Familiar dynamics reappear. You may find yourself once again stepping aside, once again choosing not to correct the record, once again letting someone else carry the narrative. And the universe watches not with judgment, but with attention. Ancient prophetic traditions speak of this moment clearly. They warn that the bearer of light who hides themselves creates space for shadow to wear their face. The one who carries illumination but chooses concealment allows darkness to borrow their name. This is not about blame. It is about responsibility. Gemini does not lose light because someone takes it. Gemini loses light because they stop claiming it. This realization can sting, but it is also liberating. Because if the light was never stolen, it can be reignited. If the erasure was voluntary, it can be reversed. Karma is not fate. Karma is momentum. And momentum changes the moment awareness enters the field. Buddhism teaches that seeing the pattern is the first act of liberation. You are not here by accident. You are here because this pattern is ready to end. Let the emotion rise without resistance. Let the memories surface without rewriting them. This is not about regret. It is about reclamation. Gemini, you were never meant to be the background thinker, the silent translator of other people's truth. You were meant to be visible, articulate, and present in your light. August is not here to take that from you. It is here to ask whether you will finally stop dimming yourself. If these words resonate, do not ignore the pull. Engagement is not vanity here. It is alignment, like the video to anchor awareness. Subscribe to remain connected to this protective frequency. Share this message so another Gemini does not repeat the same karmic silence. And if you feel the impulse, leave a comment. Your voice, even now, signals to the universe that your light is no longer willing to fade. Gemini, listen carefully now, because this is the point where the path changes, not through force, not through confrontation, but through precision. The only way to protect your light in August is not by arguing, not by defending yourself, and not by proving your intelligence to anyone who questions it. You do not need to win debates. You do not need to convince minds that are already closed. And you do not need to explain your truth to people who benefit from misunderstanding you. This month, protection comes from restraint, guided by awareness, not silence, born from fear. Here is the distinction that matters. Gemini is not being asked to disappear. You are being asked to choose timing with surgical clarity. August does not demand that you stop speaking. It demands that you stop reacting. There is a difference. When you speak reactively, your words leak power. When you speak intentionally, your words become anchors. This is the discipline that separates erosion from preservation. In astrology, this is the moment where Mercury's gift is refined, not amplified. Fewer words, clearer placement, stronger impact. Buddhist teaching offers a mirror here. Right speech is not about being gentle or agreeable. It is about alignment. Speech that rises from fear seeks validation. Speech that rises from mindfulness stands on its own. The mistake Gemini makes in August is speaking in order to be understood. That desire is natural, but this month it becomes a trap. When you speak to be understood, you hand the outcome to others. You wait for recognition. You scan faces for approval. And when it does not come, doubt enters. That doubt is what dims your light. Instead, the path is different. Speak to maintain your inner axis. Speak because silence would fracture your integrity, not because you want agreement. When your words are spoken to preserve alignment, they do not need applause. They do not need explanation. They land where they are meant to land and dissolve where they are not. This is how light protects itself. Quietly, firmly, without drama. August tests this principle repeatedly. You may feel the urge to clarify yourself, to send the follow-up message, to explain your tone, to soften your truth so others feel comfortable receiving it. Pause there. That impulse is the old pattern returning. That impulse is the moment where light usually leaks. Protection does not come from louder speech or softer speech. It comes from centered speech. Words that are chosen, not spilled. Here is a simple but powerful action. Write down the thing you are most afraid to say. Not to send, not to post, just to name. Writing reveals where energy is trapped. Often, Gemini fears saying something not because it is wrong, but because it is final. Because once spoken, a chapter closes. August is full of these thresholds. Writing clarifies which truth is asking to be honored and which reaction can be released. Understand this deeply. Gemini light is not loud. It is precise. It does not dominate rooms. It sharpens them. When you try to compete with noise, you abandon your nature. When you remain clear, even quietly, you remain untouchable. Clarity is protection. Confusion is exposure. This is why August strips away excess words. It is not silencing you. It is refining you. Ancient prophecy describes this moment as the keeper choosing the key instead of the door. The key is small, almost invisible, but it decides which paths open and which remain sealed for years. One correct choice in August does not just resolve the present moment. It stabilizes the next 12 years. Not because fate is rigid, but because momentum responds to alignment. When you act from clarity, once the universe mirrors it forward. Do not underestimate how subtle this is. You may think nothing changed. You may think you did very little, but internally, something locks. The need to justify fades. The impulse to explain weakens. Your presence strengthens. That is how light is protected. Not through attention, but through coherence. If you feel a calm settling as you hear this, that is your signal. That is your system recognizing truth. To anchor this energy, allow yourself to be seen in a way that feels grounded. Like the video to confirm alignment. Subscribe to stay within this frequency of clarity and protection. Share this message so another Gemini does not mistake silence for wisdom. And if it feels right, leave a comment. Not to speak loudly, but to mark the moment. One aligned choice in August is enough to secure what cannot be taken. Gemini, if you are still here, you have not allowed your light to be erased, and that alone already tells a story about who you are becoming. Stay with me now, because this moment is not the end of the message. It is the sealing of it. What you have just listened to was not information, it was activation. And activation only becomes real when it is acknowledged, embodied, and anchored into the present moment. So slow everything down. Let the noise of the day fall away. This is not a performance. This is a choice. Close your eyes for 3 seconds. Not longer, not shorter. 3 seconds is enough. As you close them, inhale deeply through your nose. Hold the breath gently, then release it slowly, completely, as if you are exhaling a version of yourself that no longer needs to disappear to be safe. As you breathe out, allow one memory to surface. The last time you chose silence because you were afraid of losing someone, afraid of disrupting peace, afraid that your truth would cost you connection. Do not judge that moment. Do not rewrite it. Just observe it as a chapter that no longer needs to repeat. Now bring your awareness back here. Feel your body. Feel your presence. This is where power lives, not in the past, not in prediction, but in conscious presence. Speak this internally or out loud if you can. Let the words land fully. My light does not need permission to exist. Say it again slowly. My light does not need permission to exist. This is not an affirmation for hope. It is a statement of fact. In every spiritual tradition, light is self-originating. It answers to truth, not approval. When you remember this, something fundamental shifts. Gemini understand what this moment truly represents. August did not arrive to weaken you. It arrived to reveal where you still hand your power away unconsciously. The universe does not erase your light. People do not erase your light. Circumstances do not erase your light. The only thing that ever dims it is consent. And consent can be withdrawn the instant awareness returns. That is what is happening right now. This is why interaction matters here. Not for vanity, not for numbers, but for anchoring. In ancient teachings, intention becomes karma only when it is expressed. A thought passes. A spoken or written declaration imprints. When you comment, you are not talking to an algorithm alone. You are marking a timeline. You are telling the universe, and yes, the digital field that now mirrors consciousness, that you are choosing presence over erasure, that you are choosing clarity over quiet self-abandonment. If this message resonated, do not hesitate. Comment the words that seal the intention. Comment, I protect my light. Do it consciously. Do it without rushing. Each comment is a signal, a confirmation pulse sent outward and reflected back. The algorithm responds to engagement, but more importantly, consciousness responds to declaration. What you name, you keep. What you hide, you lose. This is how timelines stabilize. And then share this message. Not because you are asked to promote anything, but because another Gemini is standing exactly where you once stood, believing silence equals wisdom, believing disappearance equals peace. Sharing interrupts that pattern. It multiplies clarity. In Buddhist understanding, compassion is not staying quiet. Compassion is preventing unnecessary suffering when you can. One share can redirect another soul's August entirely. Subscribe to the channel not as a passive action, but as a commitment. You are entering a sequence now. This is not a single warning. This is a protective arc. The content ahead is designed to keep Gemini anchored clear and aligned through this karmic window. Subscribing keeps you inside the frequency where reminders arrive before erosion sets in. Think of it as staying within range of the lighthouse, not because you are lost, but because storms distort perception. Let this moment be marked. Feel how different this feels from scrolling, from consuming, from forgetting. This is participation. This is co-creation. This is you stepping fully back into your role without force, without noise, without apology. The future responds differently to those who show up consciously. And remember this final truth, Gemini. August does not erase your light. It only asks one question over and over in different forms. Will you remain visible when being visible feels uncomfortable? Will you stay aligned when misunderstanding tempts you to vanish? The answer is not spoken once. It is chosen repeatedly. But it begins here. Stay present. Stay clear. Stay luminous. August cannot erase your light unless you allow it.